In this chapter, we're going to learn how to work with images and timers. In this particular video, we're going to start out talking about images. So if you remember, when we stick images in a web page, we need to specify a source. We can specify some alternate text for the image. We can also specify the image's width and the image's height, and we're going to use some of those things in our scripting here. So let's look at a couple code snippets before we go actually look at an application. So we do have the ability to create a new image dynamically using CS or using JavaScript. So we can call new image, and that will create a new image in memory. Okay, and in this particular case, we're storing it in a variable, a reference variable called image. All right, so we have the ability to create images and store them in memory on the fly as our program is running. Okay. So that means we can preload an image. So we can create this new image, and it creates a spot in memory to hold the image. And then we can use this variable image and specify the source for that image and actually connect it to a file name so that this file will get loaded into the source into this spot in memory where the image is held. So this is preloading an image, and the reason we want to do that is because when our user clicks on things, and if we are working with images, we don't want to have to wait for those images to load from a drive or load over the internet. Preloading the images gets them all set up in memory so that when we want to access them, it will be very fast. So here's another little snippet. We're doing a query selector all, and we're finding all of the anchor tags in this document, all of the links, okay, and storing all of them in an array, because query selector all will turn in an array with all the links, and we're going to store that with this variable called links, this constant links. Okay, and then we're going to use a for each loop, and for each link in our list of links, we're going to create that new image in memory and set its source equal to the hyperlink reference for each one of those anchor tags that we just discovered. Okay, so we're gonna take those anchor tag hyperlink references, okay, and use them to set the source for all these new images. So we'll create an image, set its source, create an image, set its source, create an image, set its source, until we've done that for all the links in our application. And this is the application we're going to make. It's an image swap application. When I click on one of these images, it will put the large version down here. So we have thumbnails at the top. We click on the thumbnail, and it changes the large image at the bottom of the page. So let's take a look at how this works. Here's the actual application running right here. I can click on one of these images. There's some deer playing, and it says deer at play, and it has the picture. Here's a fisherman. It says the big one, and it shows him catching a big fish. There's some roaming bison, and this heading changes with the picture. So let's take a look at how it works. So let's start with the index.html. We have an H1 that says fishing images, and we saw that right up here. We have a paragraph that says click on an image to enlarge. Right there it is. And then we have an unordered list. And each list item, here's the beginning of a list item, here's the end of it. Each list item contains a link to an image that's located in the images folder. Release.jpg, this one is called deer.jpg, this one is hero.jpg, and this one is bison.jpg. And each one of them has a title. Okay, so the link has a hyperlink reference to the file, and it has a title, and those titles are going to come into play in this application because that's what we're going to use to set the caption right there. So we have the hyperlink that links to the file. And we have the source telling the name of the file as well. So this is that actual image. This is the link that surrounds the image. So the image becomes a link. All right, this is an unordered list, but you notice here it goes sideways. So how did that happen? Let's go look at our CSS file. Our list items are set to display inline instead of block. So they're inline elements. The other stuff on here, we set colors for the H1s and H2s and alignment for the H1s, H2s, and paragraph, nothing fancy. But the list items displaying inline is how we get this to be horizontal instead of vertical. All right. After the unordered list, we have an H2 caption, and it's initially set to catch and release. So the first picture that comes up is this one that says catch and release. Okay. And we have a paragraph, and inside the paragraph, we have an image. Its ID in this case is main image. That will become important when we try to access it with our JavaScript. And we have a default image is the release.jpg. And we have some alt text for it. Okay. And then we load our script. And that's where, as I always say, the script is where the magic happens. So what does the script actually do to make this functionality of changing the picture and changing the caption? So let's take a look at it. Here's our image swap.js file. So we have a constant set up here for the caption, and it uses the dollar selector, the dollar function, to go out and find the ID of caption. Okay, so we're finding this H2 element that holds the caption right there. And it also has the dollar function to go out and find the main image, which is a reference to this image that's displayed there. Okay, and we're going to use both of those things. We're going to update the caption, and we're going to update that main image. So the first thing we do is use the dollar function to look for the image list and get all of its anchor tags. Okay, so it's going to go find that image list. It has an ID of image list. It's going to go find it and get a reference to all of its anchor tags. If you remember, the anchor tags are the links to each one of these pictures. Okay. And then for every link that it gets out of that and stores in this array of image links, we're going to go through each one of them. We're going to create the new image. So this is where we're preloading the images. We create the new image in memory. And then we take the links hyperreference and we set the image source to that. So now after this runs for all 4 of those images, we'll have 4 images with 4 sources set. All right, so now we're adding our event handlers, event listener. When somebody clicks on each of these links, we're going to have a different event listener for each one. Okay, so when somebody clicks on any of those small images, any of those links for those small images, it's going to take the reference for that link and set the main image source. So that main image that we found up here, we're going to change the source to a different file. And then we're going to change its alt to the title that was set in the link. And then the caption, text content, we're going to change to the link's title. Okay, so this is how it updates the image and updates the content for that caption. Okay. And then the last thing we do is take the event that happened, the click event that happened. We need to prevent a default, because when somebody clicks on this link, we don't actually want to load that image by itself on the page, which is the default action would be to go to not stay on this page and go to that directly to that image. And we don't want that. So we have to prevent the default action for that event. So we're going to preload the images, and then for each image, we're going to set the source and the text content, and we're going to keep a new page from loading. And we're just going to update these two fields. By default, we set the image links up to the focus so that when the page loads, we're automatically set. You can see the black box around there. That's the default image that's set up to run. And when I click on these, it changes the caption and changes the source for the big picture. And that's how we can manipulate images using JavaScript.